FIFA 21 has been out for about a month now, and while the game mode still needs its fair share of title updates, I genuinely do feel like this is the best career mode experience we've had in the last 5 or so years. Between uploading the Southampton series and live streaming my Journeyman save here on YouTube, I've logged in a good number of hours and learned quite a bit along the way. Today, I'll be sharing 50 tips and tricks so that you can get the most out of your FIFA 21 career mode experience, whether that has to do with new features, transfers, the youth academy, general tips, or gameplay. If you want to help support this kind of content and the channel in general, a like on the video is always appreciated, and subscribing is the best way to get notified of when new uploads go live. We'll start by covering the tips pertaining to new features in FIFA 21 career mode, and interactive match sim is a new way for you to simulate your matches. Essentially, it gives you more control over the simulation. You can adjust tactics along the way, make substitutions, and generally give you a better chance of winning. So if you don't want to play a match but want to have a little bit more control than a quick sim, you can do interactive match sim, jump into the match if things aren't going your way, or jump to result if you're optimistic about your squad scoreline. You can use development plans to make a player's development unique to your save, or as I like to do, stick a development plan on an aging player so they don't decline their key attributes as quickly. Training schedule rules will impact your squad sharpness as well as fitness. If you have a big match coming up, you can adjust your weekly plan to only rest to ensure your squad has full fitness. Having a second team sheet related to training will ensure this squad gets selected for any training regimens you use. I generally recommend using any rotational players, as your starting 11 will have plenty of sharpness from just playing matches. Training drills with fewer players increase your sharpness more and have the same impact on player fitness. I also recommend playing through the drills at least one time, achieving the highest grade possible, that being an A, so any future simulations you'll get the same grade. Dynamic potential has as much of an impact now as it has ever had. That means you can't discount any player from being world class in career mode. Just because their potential isn't high to start off with doesn't mean they can't grow. With that said, if you do want a player to develop, you need to make sure they feature in plenty of matches. My Southampton squad 4 seasons in is just one example of the potential squad that you can have if you feature enough players regularly. If you don't have the funds in your transfer budget to bring a player in, you can consider using a player swap to make the signing. Loan to buy deals are also back in FIFA 21 if you'd prefer to test a player out without paying the huge transfer fee up front. Moving into tips related to transfers, at the start of every season, make sure to check to see which players are available on a release clause. Generally, I limit this search to the top 5 leagues, but you can open this up to all leagues if you'd like to. The same applies to free agents, especially once you're a few seasons into career mode. You can definitely find someone to help improve your squad depth. Search for any players that are 32 years or older, and you might find some that are retiring at the end of the season. This means that their regen will be added into the save the following season. I have a video specifically on the regen searching process if you're interested. Unless a player is high rated or within your league, you might not have a full scouting report available on that player. I always recommend that you send your scout out to get a full evaluation of the player, as it won't take long and it will help give you a better idea of how much to offer for the transfer. If you consistently find yourself running out of scouts to get an evaluation of players, or the reports are taking too long, you can hire a scout from the Global Transfer Network to speed up the process. If you have a player whose contract is expiring at the end of the season, you can approach to sign them on a pre-contract to join your squad next season, or sign them at or below their market value on a permanent basis right away. And when you're making a signing, always check to see what your current squad wages look like, because you don't want to overpay for a certain player. This can result in you getting fired, so remember that wages are all relative to your save. A player's value can be influenced by their form and sharpness, so sometimes it makes sense to let a player leave in January, then transfer listing them at the start of the season. When you receive a transfer offer and you're interested in letting that player go, always start negotiations at the higher end of their evaluation. Usually a range is given to you by your assistant manager, and sometimes you can even have the other club pay higher than this range. When it's time to start renewing contracts, I always recommend delegating this to your assistant manager, because it speeds up the process quite a bit. The one thing though is that you want to use your best judgment to start the wage offer lower than what your assistant manager recommends. Loans are an incredibly effective way to have a player that isn't part of your first team plans get some match time and increase their overall. If you find that you're receiving offers of loan to buy and you don't want that sort of deal to go down, you can again delegate this to your assistant manager and then specify the type of deal to be a loan to whatever loan length you're looking to do. At the start of every save, you'll be greeted with an existing youth scout. Depending on the club and if they are youth academy focused, you might receive one with a better experience and judgment. If you pre-ordered certain editions of FIFA 21, you will also be greeted with a hometown talent. These players are known to have a very good potential, but even if you don't, you'll still have a few players in your youth academy. Several new countries were added into FIFA 21 and are now available to be scouted, and more are being added with every title update. I found that physically strong players will generally give you the best results in terms of how they play in game, but the best evaluation that you can get is from a player's value. A high value along with a high potential range will usually result in a good youth academy player. All right, getting into some general tips. At the beginning of every save, you'll have the option of downloading the latest squad file, using current squads, or using initial squads. Generally, download latest is the best option here. It'll give you the most accurate reflection of transfers, but especially when you get into transfer windows, for example, in January, you might need to use current squads, and then you'll have to transfer some players around to put them in their new club, because generally squad updates come every week, so you might miss a few days in between. The process of transferring a player to a new club is fairly simple. From the Customize tab, you go to Edit Teams, then Club Transfers. All you need to do after this is just pick some random team. What I generally do is search the player by name, search them up, and then transfer them to the new club. It is also very important that prior to starting your crew mode, you plan out whether you want to do international management, what you want the negotiation strictness to be, and whether you want a financial takeover, because you cannot change this after starting the career mode. For most leagues, the 29th of June is the final day of the season, and the last day you can visit all the different areas of the menu to see player growth and that sort of stuff. The end of the season is also a great time to browse jobs and potentially move clubs if you're no longer interested in your current save. This is a fun way to do a journeyman career mode or just get a new start somewhere. In general, you'll always want to select the most positive press conference question. This will help boost your team morale. Very rarely does a negative response help the situation. I also highly recommend having a backup save. You get a total of 8 different save slots, and it's important to name these accordingly, something that you can recognize across your different career modes. For any other content creators out there, you can disable all music for streaming purposes from the menus. This is a pretty nifty tip that I just recently found out about. If you're on the fence about buying FIFA 21, a viable strategy is to purchase an EA Play subscription. Essentially, this gives you a 10-hour full game trial of the game where you can make a better decision whether you want to purchase a retail copy of FIFA 21. If you're trying to figure out how to pronounce one of your squad player names, I like using this site called Forvo. Essentially, you just search for a word, and then locals of that language provide their recording audio. Finally, getting into some gameplay / visual tips, I always recommend having a separate team sheet available for cup matches in case you don't want to use your first choice starting 11. If you find this exclamation mark symbol in your team sheet, that means the player is not playing in their preferred position. Sometimes you can move them around so that they get maximum sharpness and rating in game. For this example, you can change this 4-2-3-1 center attacking mid to a left wing, and the same sort of thing for the right center attacking mid to a right wing. You can use the edit players function to edit how some of your players look in game. Generally, this is most applicable for any youth academy player promotions. They will all start with tucked in kits and default boots. I always switch this to untucked and give them some new boots. Kit numbers can also be updated from the squad hub. As a player becomes more important into your squad plans, they may inherit a new squad number. You can also edit your manager appearance at any time. Maybe you didn't focus too much on it at the start, but you have some new fashion sense as your save goes on. If you're playing on legendary or ultimate difficulty, competitor mode is by default turned off. If that's something you want to have in game, you need to turn it on. In some cases, you might want to adjust sliders as well. This can be adjusted for both your user gameplay customization or for the CPU gameplay customization. The camera angle used will also have a big impact on your gameplay. I personally prefer co-op. It gives you a better view of the entire pitch, and from there you can adjust things like the height as well as the camera zoom to find out what works best for you. Depending on what club you're managing a career mode for, you might want to switch up the commentary language to get a new twist. For me, English, French, as well as Spanish is available. If a club stadium is not in FIFA 21, you can pick out one of the generic stadiums and customize the name to get a more authentic feel. If you're not a fan of the kit selection chosen by the game, you can go to the Customize tab in the pre-match loading screen, and from there you can change kits to your liking. Some teams will have 3 kits available. Others will just have the home and away. Likewise, if you're playing at a stadium that has shadows, you can go to the Customize section, and then from game settings, you can change the weather conditions to your liking. For example, if you change the weather to overcast, that will not allow any shadows to be on the stadium. If a match goes to extra time, you'll have an extra substitute available, and for any preseason tournament matches, you'll have unlimited substitutions. It's also very important to note for any cup finals or when you're clinching the league, your captain will be lifting the trophies. So If for whatever reason you don't want your captain to lift it, you can sub him out and bring a player in. Whichever player gets subbed on will become the new captain and lift the trophy. This can be particularly useful if you have a player retiring at the end of the season and they start the match as a substitute. You can sub them on for the last moments of the match and end their career by lifting a trophy. That's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you learned at least one thing new from the tips mentioned, but I do want to give a massive thank you for all the support shown on the channel over the last few weeks. And as FIFA 21 has come out, you guys have been showing so much love on the Southampton save as well as the live streams. And I am happy to announce that we are now live with the Flicks Picks channel membership program. This is a way that if you choose to do so, you'll gain access to a few different emotes for the chat during live streams or the comment section for videos. As an extra incentive, you'll also be having your name featured at the end of every upload on the channel. But if you want to become a channel member, you can do so anytime by clicking the join button or clicking the link in the description. I hope you all are enjoying FIFA 21 as much as I am. I am genuinely very excited for what the future holds, both on the channel as well as the game mode. But if you enjoyed the video today, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new. But until next time, this has been Flick. I'll be talking to you all again soon.